Hey guys and gals, what's up? BN, I'm back again today for another Infinity Kingdom video. Now, I'm pretty excited today for what we have going on. So, I'm sure a lot of players out there have been wondering when it comes to Immortals, which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones work for me more in my player type situation, whether that be free to play, are you spending, who's good in this composition with these elements, and so on and so forth. Today, I'm really excited because I brought in one of my good friends and one of the first people I actually had a chance to meet in Infinity Kingdom that I have continuously been able to rely on and theory craft with and just talk through and out a lot of scenarios. Put out a full breakdown as well that can be found in the description of the video along with any other relevant information, but I'll let Yorae take it from here and kind of give you guys his tier list breakdown and reasons why that he'll dive into.
First up is Baldwin. He's a wind nuker. His ability is very good at taking down single target, although it does have a lot of RNG where it can just do massive nuke damage. Single target burst tends to be really good against healer type teams, just because it allows you to get rid of them without them having the chance to heal back up and reduces their damage. Only problem with him is a lot of servers he's not available, so he'll be a tricky one to get early on. So you can't really build a team planning around him. But if you can, he's definitely top tier. So we got Charles, Emperor Charlemagne. He's probably my favorite unit in the game. He's the best PvE unit. His shield covers everybody, and in this game, if your units take any damage, the soldiers die, and even if you heal them back up, the soldiers don't really restore their damage. So his ability allows your team to keep fighting for a long time. When you're doing sieges in cities, you're not doing just one battle. You could be doing up to 30 battles in a row if your team can survive each round. So he's extremely good for survival. He's a little weak to if you have like dispels on the enemy team, but not too many people are using lightning. Theodora, she's the best healer in the game. Currently so good that they took her out of the game and only a select few players have her. Her holy element means she has no weaknesses, and the fact that she can heal 4 people at once is just, she's god tier. Like, I would put her even above the S rank if I could, because that's how good she is. There is no other healer that can do 4 people. There's no one that can beat Holy Element. There's nothing wrong with her at all. She's perfect. And then we have Empress Wu. Essentially only 3 people a month to get her from Arena. The top 3 players get enough shards to actually be able to summon her. She's basically a fire version of Baldwin, so heavy single target nuke with a chance to spread the damage out, and sometimes she can just eviscerate a whole team in one hit if it procs enough times. Gilgamesh is the free-to-play PvP hero of choice for rearguard. Again, holy element, but you can actually get him for free. And AoE is just really good at weakening enemies. Since a healer can only generally heal 2 people at once, the fact that you can hit 4 people, it just helps lower the damage that they do while also killing them. And no weaknesses. He's a little weaker than he used to be. They nerfed him some because of how broken he has been and how top tier he's been. But he's still a really, really good unit, especially against if someone tries to use Med B, which is the other common, like before you have Gilgamesh PvP choice, a lot of people will go with Med B for the Shadow since it beats all elements, but he absolutely just destroys her. And then we got William, the only free-to-play fire cavalry, well, the only free-to-play epic cavalry, period. He's fire. He's got a good, consistent line attack, so you can always pair him up with like Ashoka or another line attack so you can focus down a healer in the back row. He gives everybody crit. More crit is just general more damage for the whole team. So he's effective, and reliable. Like, consistency is really important in PvE as well, because you don't want to be fighting gnomes and then randomly dying sometimes. If you have too much RNG in your lineup, it will cause problems. Crit is still a little RNG, of course, but it's one of the better things to have RNG based on. Then we got Hannibal. Hannibal is a wind shieldman. He's also free to play acquirable. He's one of the best shieldmen. The only issue I have with him is that you can already get Harald and Hippolyta from the arena, so you'll generally only use Hannibal if you're focusing the Wind Dragon at the arena shop, or if you've got, like, pulled him early and haven't actually invested into buying Harald or Hippolyta shards yet from the arena. But he's still a really good choice. He beats lightning. Like, there aren't too many opponents that will run lightning. Very occasional. Like, some people will build an anti-earth team with Ghengis Khan, but overall you won't see him too much. Harald. Harald is water. Almost all new players start with a water team. You get the water dragon first. You get Bryn. You get Helen. He's the go-to attack shieldman for green, and his damage is very good. It's burst with a dot as well, so it keeps draining them. Montezuma. Montezuma is wind-based healer, but also the only free-to-play healer in the game. So for PvE, he is essential. You'll never really replace him in almost any circumstance when you're doing PvE, because the more heals you have, the less soldier casualties you have, and lets you continue to grind harder level gnomes or bosses, or even siege. He's pretty good. Like, he's a solid unit that almost anyone should have at least him. If you don't have Zenobia, if you don't have Theodora, he's going to be on either your main team or your secondary team, guaranteed. Brings me to Zenobia, who's currently the best healer in the game that you can acquire. She's from the VIP 5 box at a cheap $5. Her heal is stronger than Montezuma's. She can equip an extra skill, and Earth is a typically more popular element since it beats water. Her heal secondary effect, it benefits attack speed type units, so Alexander or Spartacus are the only ones right now where the more they hit, the more they heal. But it's not something that you really pick her for, just like, it's just a little bit of an extra touch for her stuff. Cleopatra is the Earth Mage. She's also partially support because she does a very good AoE nuke, but it can also disable at the same time. For a lot of endgame teams, she'll be the healer for PvP because you can give her additional disables and additional heal skills with the Tower of Knowledge. And Earth beats water, so most teams that she'll run into, she has additional damage there as well. And she's good at, like, versatility. She's probably one of the most versatile rear line units where you can just set her up to do anything. Hippolyta is the Fire Shieldman epic, also from Arena. Your choice is usually between her and Harald. We'll say Hippolyta looks better, and her attack is a little RNG based, but the fact that it energy drains on each hit and does 5 hits of pretty consistent damage, it makes her very, very good at disabling skills. You'll generally want to put additional disables on her, like silence or attack types, like even stray arrow would be okay, or rage, or like she needs a heavy attack focus to benefit a lot from her skill. But she just has that advantage where you can get her from the arena. Once you have her, you can also get her from the market, so she's easier to rush up as far as star level. The only issue is that, again, most people play water at the start, so early on you might find she's getting countered just by people's basic teams. But endgame, she's top tier. One of my favorite ones in the game. Flavius is Shadow, so beats all elements. A great PvP unit. It's pretty clear to see when you look at his skill what it's for. He reverses heal. So if you fight any heal team, Flavius just counters it entirely and will destroy any element. So other than Theodora healer, like even then you wouldn't want to use her because that's just too good. The stronger your heals are, the more damage he does, making him an extremely deadly unit. He's not always available. He is a special bundle unit, so you need to collect his shards daily for about 4 days if you buy all the packs each day. But again, once you get him, he shows up in the market. He's purple. Elites are a little bit cheaper to star up, so once you're getting him out of the market, you don't have to worry about raising him as like soul shard consumption. So that's always good. Frederick is really good. Frederick has the self-sustain abilities and a line attack, so he works again with other line type people where you can target a specific area. He's fire, which is a little tough to work with at the early game, but he does, like, you can purchase him from a high level alliance, so any level 6 alliance will have him available, making him a very consistent shard game. I like him. I recommend him pretty often just for free-to-play in particular. He's also one of the only spearman epics that you can get in the game other than Leonidas. And spearmen don't have a lot of other choices, so he's definitely up there for units to pick. Ghengis Khan. Ghengis Khan is another anti-healer. He's also from the $50 box set, though. He is lightning. So he is literally designed to beat Emperor Charlemagne's Zenobia combos. Like, he's the PvP counter to the PvE lineup, and his AoE is really strong as well. You don't usually have too many archers. A lot of people tend to use mages or healers in the backline, so you usually have to build a custom set of gear for him, but he's also just extremely effective. Julius Caesar, Spearman Holy. He's free to play acquirable if you're lucky. You can get him out of the Hall of Immortals. Once you have him, he's essentially endgame perfect. He's got no weaknesses. He does AoE damage. He reduces damage done to himself. And there's really no counter. Like, Julius and Gilgamesh together have almost no counter other than you have to be stronger than that person to win. So it's a very good unit. You can always flex him for more disable with silence or charm or stun. Like, you're essentially trying to make him as much in the way as possible, and he does everything well. Leonidas is very similar to Julius Caesar, but he's more easily acquired since you only need 5 shards in a month to be able to summon him, since the daily sign-in will give you 55, so you only need to get lucky enough to get a 5 shard out of the Hall of Immortals to be able to summon him guaranteed. He is available in an Alliance shop level 8 as well, so in a later server you'll be able to build him consistently each day as well. He does AoE damage and reduces damage done to himself, so he's very reliable when it comes to his DPS. He's very tanky, and again, you don't have many other choices. He eats water, so he's pretty good even in PvP situations early on, although once you start coming up against people who are building Shadow Lightning type teams, he's gonna die. He's still top tier though. Merlin. And Merlin is the most AoE nuke-based mage in the game. He's water-based, so he fits a new team extremely well. He also pairs with Helen. His skill requires Helen. The Freeze Dragon does not work with his ability. So only chilled from Helen. The main issue with that is that Helen and him will get their energy up at the same time, and it will take a moment for Helen's skill to proc, which means his first skill will usually never be able to take advantage of chilled unless you give her some sort of additional energy regeneration above him. But even without Helen on the team, he's still probably one of the best mages you can possibly get, and he only costs $1. At the moment, if you buy anything in the game at all, support the game a little bit, you get Merlin, and you can start collecting his shards from the market. He's the cheapest invest you can get, and he can stay on your teams from the moment you get him to the end. And then there's Siegfried. Siegfried is probably the deadliest nuker I've ever seen, if I had seen him. I've literally never seen a person with this unit in the game, but his stats look unreal. His skill damage would probably kill most people in one hit. But I've just never seen him. I put him in S tier because of his shadow, because of his skill, but I've absolutely never seen this unit before in my life. It's Alexander the Great. I've got him as A, even though he's epic, mostly because his skill does not, like, it's more damage and more attack speed, but as soon as you activate it, it doesn't lower the enemy's health right away, which means it takes time to ramp up. It's a very scale-based hero. He pairs really well with Zenobia because of his attack speed buffs, and you can give him different skills to increase his attack speed or make him hit more often to take advantage of both of those combos, but they're kind of a two-man group. You need to have both to really see the synergy, and overall it makes him a little less versatile than most units. He is a cavalry, which is, again, kind of rare, but he's also from daily packs, so you can only get him sometimes. Gaius, the only blue unit up here.
Ooh.
Gaius is just that good. He is essentially a baby version of Emperor Charlemagne. He only covers the front row, but the front row tends to be the area that takes the most damage anyway. One of the big advantages of him is that it takes very few of his shards to star him up, which means he doesn't take a lot of soul shard investment to be good, and he's extremely consistent for siege battles and for PvE type things to reduce casualties. Probably the best one that you can get, and almost anyone can get him pretty easily. Then we got Saladin. Saladin is really good. The main issue with him is mostly just wind beats lightning. You don't see that much lightning. His damage is really good, but he's from packs. You have to pay for him. He's not, like, there's nothing wrong with him per se, but Wind Dragon is a harder dragon to level up. So again, like, if you're doing Hannibal with Wind Dragon and then Saladin, that could be a working composition, but he's very reliant on the team comp that you have, and you need to have pretty specific heroes to use him effectively. You can throw him in anything, like you just have him and like him. There's nothing wrong with using Saladin. Med B, I put her up here because Shadow is one of the best early game, mid game PvP types. She does AoE, but burst and a dot on them as well, so a really high damage output unit. She's actually really good in PvE too, just because AoE is a really good choice. Obviously, if you have Helen Merlin combo for your AoE, that may be better overall, but if you're just going for something that can work in both PvP and PvE at the same time, Med B is definitely up there for good units. Of course, the late game, when you're up against Julius and Gilgamesh, she gets eaten alive, so she's easily counterable. She's also easily acquirable, though, as elite. She's less shards than an epic to raise, and you can get good effect out of her for a long time. Attila is the cheaper version of the special pack, and also on daily packs. He's cavalry, and water. Water, again, really good in the early game, since so many people are running water. He fits the team synergy well. He makes a pretty good PvE unit, and his burst is pretty strong. It's his silence, mostly, that people are interested in. Being able to silence your opponent, especially if you can get him a little bit of energy regeneration advantage over them, means that you can totally shut them down before they can react. But overall, because it loses to Earth later, and in general, you can't get that energy advantage without you would already be stronger than the person if you can get that energy advantage in the first place. He's not what I would call top tier. He's still an amazing unit, but not top tier. Ashoka is fire. He's a bowman. He's got a good line attack, so he's good for pairing behind Frederick or William, but that's about where he specializes most. You need to be building fire around him with Frederick or William to use him very well. He's a bow unit, so typically, like I said, most people are using mage and healer, so they don't have the advantage of being able to use his equipment on other people if you decide to change him out. You can't always just melt the equipment and move the item over with, like, the enchant stones over with no problem. But it's just not perfect, especially in the early game when so many people are water. It's very PvP, gets wrecked early on, but when people start shifting to more random types of elements, he's very consistent. And then we got Mulan. Now, Mulan is an elite, and one of my favorite elites to use because she offers survivability in her dodge, which is, in my opinion, dodge is even more effective than like damage reduction, because taking 0 damage is better than taking some, losing some troops and getting weaker. Because again, if you lose any troops, your overall damage of your unit goes down. So she can keep a really high offensive burst attack and kind of self-sustain by just not getting hit. The only downside is, again, wind. Not too many lightning teams to fight for her element, and essentially, like, you have to make the judgment call on your lord talent if you want the crit or the dodge. Like, she will scale really well with the dodge one. It does stack despite what the note says. It doesn't stack with other Tower of Knowledge dodge skills, but it does stack with the lord talent. But you will eventually replace her. Even I eventually replaced her with Leonidas most recently, and I'm only on like going on 3 weeks on this server, so she's not an endgame good unit, but she's very strong early on. And over here we've got Elizabeth Bathory. Now, I had this on server 2. For some reason, this was before Medb but got nerfed, but before that, Bathory was not performing as well as Medb. For some reason, she doesn't do that much damage. Her skills take a while to ramp up. You get the first one that does okay, and then the second one does a lot more, but it requires that ramp up time. And if you're against any type of burst nuke PvP lineup, she won't get to take advantage of that skill, which means she's a little weaker. She's strong against all elements, but she's weak to holy, so she's vulnerable to a free-to-play person's Gilgamesh, and she's only from VIP 10. So
Man.
not everybody is going to have her anyway. Helen, I put at ace tier, mostly because everybody gets her. The 7-day event gives you that advantage where you can superstar her up quickly. I tend to recommend a lot of people who are using the Helen Merlin combo to put their healing skills on her. Her overall damage from her skill isn't that high, and it's a little slow to go because it takes 12 seconds for the skill to take the full damage, so it's not very bursty. But she adds a chill, which enables Merlin, so you give Merlin the offensive skills and give her the healing skills, and she kind of gives a slow, a heal, and good AoE damage. She's a very versatile unit. If you are using a healer like Montezuma with her, you can always just make her the main damage dealer if you don't have Merlin, and she's still very effective that way. But she's up here mostly for her versatility and ease of getting at the start of the game. Peter's here for his Dispel. You're going to find some levels, like 8-8 in Well of Time, or certain bosses in particular, that have basically unstoppable shields that you cannot pierce. And without a Dispel unit, there's really no way around it. Like, a lot of people get stuck on 8-8 because they cannot get past that boss's shield, and if you ever get there, you'll know what I'm talking about. He's essentially a Dispel unit, which I don't really highly recommend. I also don't recommend Lightning too much, but there is a time and a place where he's useful. It's like when he is useful, he is almost the only unit that can do the job. But when he is not the one to do the job, he's just okay. And then we have Qin Shi Huang, or the Qin Emperor. He is the essentially anti-heal unit. His wound affects all teams, so he affects both members, like your team and their team, so you can't run healers with him really effectively, but he does shut down all healing. He's a great PvP unit. although a little bit weak against fire, which is way more common than again his lightning strong target. But if you don't have Genghis Khan, he is a really good choice. He's typically available from the arena shop on like second or third season. You don't usually see him on the first season. Like, it depends how they're going to set it up. They could always change this, of course, but you can also find him occasionally in special deals. And we got Ramses. Ramses is the next step up of the Attila special pack. So you don't have them right away, then you buy the Attila pack, his pack will appear. So he's definitely a heavy spender investment type hero. He's really good early game because, again, everyone's water, so you have a lot of other water units. If you bought Attila to get to him in the first place, you've got your he's essentially going to be paired with Attila every time. And then, like, Merlin most likely, because you get Merlin as well, and then the Water Dragon, and then you have one flexible unit choice. It's really static, like, you don't get to do much with your lineup, and you are extremely susceptible to an Earth-based team, right? You got Cleo, you got Emperor Charlemagne, Leonidas, all these people will just eat a water team up, which tends to be the more prominent PvE siege teams, which means good players that siege a lot will still beat that kind of team lineup. William Wallace, aka Braveheart. He's lightning, which again, I keep telling you I don't favor lightning that much. He's got a silence though, and he's a spearman. He's also one of the only spearman choices for free to play early on until you can get Frederick. Like, there is literally no one else to choose from. Uh, so if you're playing as the blue team, like, you will essentially want to use him in the early game and then eventually melt him down for Frederick or someone else, or Julius if you can pull him. Yoshitsune. Yoshitsune is technically in the Alliance shop at level 10, but you'll almost never see anyone win a level 10 Alliance because of how insane the experience requirements are. His skill is good, but situational to other bursts. So you need to be able to lower the enemy down to under 50% to really take advantage of his insta-kill techniques. And his attack is a little bit RNG based as well, so sometimes even if you do have a good focus, like line attack lineup that can bring down a couple people in particular to open up his ability, he may still just go after the wrong targets. He's water, so he fits most teams. You compare him really well with Merlin. If you can get Merlin the energy regeneration a little bit faster than his, Merlin can land his nuke, open up the opportunity for Yoshitsune, but he's a little dependent on the team's composition. He's not a standalone perfect unit, and he needs high stars, and you need a little bit of luck to get him from the Hall of Immortals, so pretty good. But
if you're looking for something that's completely complex, that gives you a fantastic breakdown on all the immortals, hats off to Yorae for taking the time with us, and we really appreciate it. Thanks so much for stopping by today.
Yeah, anytime. Always happy to help, trying to get more players understanding the game and getting involved. It's definitely the best city builder in there. It looks a lot like many, many others, but once you start playing it, you'll see that it's really well balanced. It's really fun, and it's got a lot more to it than it looks like on the surface. Thanks for having me. Feel free to hit me up anytime, and we'll be talking.
Always, always. No, man, thanks so much again to Yorae for stopping by with us. And guys, until next time, take care and enjoy IK.